Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. So we have a new Tactical Thursday episode for you guys, and we're going to be talking through strategies to get your very first analytics job. And I'm going to let Elizabeth take this one away.
Yeah, so I think there are really 4 strategies that I would recommend to get your first analytics job. The first is internship. So obviously you could do a great job at your internship and then hopefully be hired on full time. The second is pivoting a role that isn't in analytics but is in a field that you want to get into, so like marketing and becoming a marketing analyst. The third is networking, and then the fourth is cold outreach, which is what people typically think about when they're thinking about applying to jobs, which is just applying to any and every job online.
Yeah. And so we did rank order these the best way to get your job, which is an internship. And I think that that's the case because as an intern, you are spending your whole time at that company doing analytics work. Mm-hmm. And then the lowest rank order is cold outreach.
Right, the spray and pray method.
Right,
like
which is, and I think that is such an apt way of framing that up, because it's kind of like, I don't want to be weird or anything, but getting to the online dating world, it's kind of like the difference between guys and girls' experience on dating websites like OkCupid. Because girls will get 200 messages a day, and then some guys will send out 1,000 messages a day. So there's kind of like a differential there. Like I think you said, the companies are kind of like the belle of the ball.
Yeah, the companies are sort of like the girl in this situation who maybe is getting 200, 300, 500 reach outs a day. And you being one of those reach outs, it's going to be really hard if you have nobody internally who's looking out for you or anybody who's referred you, or you haven't targeted your resume or cover letter, and you're just sort of spraying, praying, hoping that your volume of applications will make up for the lack of targeting your resume or networking.
Yeah, and building off that metaphor, which I love, by the way, I think this is a hilarious metaphor. Even more, it's the girls on those dating sites are probably interacting with guys face to face, and they might run into a cute guy that they're crushing on.
That's true. Yeah, that's a great point.
Which, to bring that back to companies,
networking.
Yeah, right. So companies love hiring internally, which is kind of like in the metaphor, meeting a guy organically.
Yeah, meeting a guy organically either through an internal candidate or a networking opportunity where maybe somebody is introduced to a hiring manager. So yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, this metaphor goes really deep, doesn't it?
Well, I mean, it's at the heart of everything,
right?
But we did have Fabio Alamini. Actually, I mean, this was early on in the podcast, I think. So the analytics manager from Volvo Finance was on the podcast, and we didn't tell you guys this, but we actually had someone that we kind of coached and lined up a job with Fabio. Unfortunately, he didn't get the job. His name was Chris Quaz, and Fabio actually went with an internal candidate, which I'm kind of curious as to why do you think companies hire internally as opposed to finding, I mean, it's someone new and novel and better, right? Right,
potentially, but I think a lot of companies go for an internal hire because this person has proved themselves and they are somebody that they know is adding value, they know what they're getting, and perhaps it's time for that person to get a promotion, to be recognized for the great work that they're doing. And so oftentimes they'll look for that internal hire, even if maybe they do some external interviews and look for candidates externally as well. It may just come down to the fact that, hey, this candidate internally is great, they've done great work for us in the past, they've been loyal to us, we know what we're getting, so we're going to hire them.
Yeah, and I think what this speaks to, here's a hot tip, pro tip here, a referral from someone that manager knows and trusts, that is immensely powerful to get your foot in the door, and then also they can frame you up in a great light. So even if you blow the interview, but your current manager or someone you worked with says they do amazing work, you got a little bit more leeway there.
I think you're right. I mean, think about it. You have that clout that you've built at the company. You have that clout you've built with your current manager. And so certainly that can go a long way. And to bring it into networking too, when you have a referral, whether that's an internal referral where you are working at that current company or you're just wanting to get into that company, so you're coming from the outside, that can speak volumes, because we've talked about this before on the podcast. if I am a hiring manager and I get 1,000 applications and 5 of them are people that were personally recommended to me, who do you think I'm going to first? Those 5 who were personally recommended to me. So networking is a huge strategy, one of the best ways to land your next job.
So I feel like we've neglected point 2. And I feel like we do this often, and I'm sorry, I've gotten a lot of feedback from you guys that, hey, I'm in the middle of my career, not analytics related. I want more advice. Well, here you go. We're going to now start talking about this. If you are currently working in, say, marketing analytics or marketing, you can very quickly pivot that into marketing analytics, because if you're making campaigns, you have so much data to work with. And we actually interviewed someone who pivoted their current role into a more analytics-centric one. I can't remember off the top of my head the episode number, but it was Billy Zhao, and he took on, I think it was a marketing job, and then asked his manager, hey, I've got all this data, can I get access to Tableau? So then he essentially pivoted his marketing role into a marketing analytics job. Right. You're doing 2 things there. Number 1, you're building skills, and you're building that track record. So you can say, yeah, I've been doing marketing analytics for a year and a half now. So then you're not in that, 0 momentum space.
Right. Yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, one of the best ways for you to build skills is to be in a current role and then build skills either on the side or try to take that on in your role. I mean, try to get some of those responsibilities that are analytics related and say, hey, I want to expose myself to this. I want to learn this. Absolutely.
And then let's close this conversation out on networking.
Okay.
So well, it's interesting because we talked about this concept before we hit record. Your idea of networking is more university and college centric.
So I think that's one way that you can do it. It really depends on where you are in your career. Certainly universities and colleges, if you are in a master's program or a bachelor's program, are going to have events ready for you. They're going to have campus recruiting, they're going to have career fairs, they're going to have an opportunity for you to meet with employers at a networking night. And so take advantage of that. I mean, that's part of your tuition. So do it. Go to those events. But then beyond that, when you get out of a university setting, there certainly are other events that you could attend in the community, like a young professionals group, or we've talked about user groups on this podcast before.
Right, yeah. So I was the Tableau user group in Greensboro for about 2 years. And there were so many people who would come in. A lot of them would be, graduate students, and they would work on a project and then meet someone that would hire them.
Right.
I mean, that's a great way, because you're networking with intention there. You're not just going to, one of those bland generic networking where it's like, here's my card.
Right.
Here, I'll take your card. And that was my conception of networking until I got involved with that user group. Because you can actually work on projects and build value and skills and build I mean, if you do networking right, it's extremely valuable.
Yes, it is very valuable. And I think a lot of people have that conception that it's just sort of, we're going to this meeting, we're giving out business cards, but it does not have to be that. There's so many different ways you can network. Networking could be one-on-one conversations. Right now that'd probably be over Zoom, but eventually could be, again, you grab coffee with somebody, but it could be all the way up to you're going to a very targeted type of group, like these user groups, and you're building relationships there. And everything in between. So think of networking as simply just meeting people and be targeted about it, to your point, instead of just going to an event that's open to anybody in the public. Go to an event that's going to be people who are in the field that you're interested in.
Fantastic.
All right. Does that round us out with this conversation, you think?
I believe so.
Yeah, all right. Very good.
All right, well, thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you guys hit the subscribe button and ring the bell if you want notifications each time we post a video. Right now, I think we're doing 1 or 2 videos a week?
Yes.
So thank you guys.